Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Physics Department at the University of Dundee and the Open Day online. I'm Paul Campbell. I'm one of the senior academics in the Physics Division. I've been here for nearly 20 years now, so I pretty much know everything that goes on in the place, and certainly everything that you guys want to know about. I've got a raft of facts and figures and all sorts of useful information that will help you make up your mind whether Dundee is the right place for you or not. So without further ado, let me highlight what I think are the top 3 overriding factors that I believe influences parents and, more to the point, prospective students' decision to go to a particular university. And in reverse order, they are number 3, the employability of the graduates. Okay, if you can't get a job with the particular degree that you're leaving with, then that would be problematic, of course. And I've got good news on that front as far as we're concerned, statistically anyway. In second place, you might have the research environment that your academics, your teachers work in, and the standard that they're held to by their peer group. That could be another influencing factor, and it ought to be an influencing factor because the research standing of a department influences the quality of the teaching. And of course, the quality of the teaching is the number 1 criteria that it ought to be in your mind when it comes to picking the physics department of choice for you. So anyway, with that in mind, I make my first little click. And my less than subliminal message is that when it comes to teaching quality, and it's not my word that you're taking for this, the National Student Survey, so it's an independent government run data collection process. Well, that had Dundee at the top of the student rankings in 2015 and 2016, and in fact we were 100% satisfaction for the quality of our course and the student experience. So what I'm going to go through is a few more of these independently founded facts and figures about the division and about the University of Dundee. So I'll click on to the next main slide, and I stay on this theme of teaching. Okay, so you want to know that the people who are teaching you are excellent at it, and there's a mechanism whereby that is graded, and it is done via the National Student Survey and this entity called Unistats. So what I would encourage you all to do is, if you have several target physics departments in mind, go into Unistats or the National Student Survey and call up those individual departments to see how their own students have ranked them over preceding years. And that's like, I'm going to give you a snapshot of that right now. So what I do is I average over the past 5 years. So the numbers that I'm going to present to you have been gathered from Unistats and the National Student Survey over the last 5 years. And like I say, what that does is it kind of, any year on year big fluctuations become kind of smoothed out. So you get a more accurate reflection of what the place is actually like for the various questions on the National Student Survey. So I'm going to have 4 columns here. University of Dundee, they're in the first column. Our competitors down the road, the University of Edinburgh, in the second. A large physics department, and by large I mean the biggest probably in the whole UK, at the University of Manchester, which of course has the draw of Brian Cox and a few Nobel Prize winners in physics. And then just for Oxbridge, just to throw that into the mix, we've got Oxford in this 4th column. And what I'm going to present to you are several of what I believe to be the key questions that arise out of this National Student Survey. So without further ado, the most important question, the overriding question, were you satisfied with the degree that you undertook at that particular institution, okay? So this idea that the students leave, answer a whole raft of questions, but when they're all tallied together, it's your overall reflection of the place. And averaged over the last 5 years, Dundee students have ranked our satisfaction rating as 93%. Compare that with Edinburgh, 70%. Manchester with a little asterisk, and I'll tell you what that means in a second, at 86%, and Oxford at 85% with an asterisk as well. So the asterisks are an indication that not every single year of Unistats data was available for Manchester or for Oxford, okay? So both of those lack information specifically in the 2 preceding years. I think 19 and 20 were the 2 that we certainly didn't have any information to collate from them. So they're slightly different stats. It's not averaged over 5 years. It's what I've got available from the 5-year window that I'm assessing things in. But the bottom line here, Dundee is the best for satisfaction with the course from those 4 that I've picked. And again, you go into Unistats, you will have your own target division, physics departments, and you should check that out for yourself. Okay, it's an important thing because your satisfaction rating from the students is some indication of how enjoyable you're going to find the course and how useful it is. Okay, so several of the other key questions, and I've picked out 5 extra ones here. And again, you can see just glancing down the page and across that Dundee more or less outstrips our competition across the board. Certainly for the 2 killer questions that I believe are like the cornerstone of your decision-making processes. Are the staff good at explaining things? Well, it's almost 100% of the last 5 years average for us, 99. It is a very clear and resounding message that yes, the staff are fabulous at explaining things. Have they made the subject interesting? Are they passionate about their delivery? And you can see we're way up there in the 90s again, whereas the competitors, or at least the 3 that I've picked from here, they fall behind markedly in some regards. Okay, now that's all very glowing, that's all fabulous from our point of view, but you can also see that some of the numbers are a little bit lower than we would like. Feedback on my work has been prompt. Well, we don't want to see 70% there, we want to see it up in the 90s as well. So this ongoing data collection process from the National Student Survey and Unistats informs the strategy that we implement year on year. And I can tell you that within the forthcoming year, the 21-22 academic year, that your feedback will be presented back to you within a fortnight of your homework being received back by the lecturer, right across the physics. That'll be everything back within a fortnight, and with clear, coherent, and objective strategies for you to improve the things that you do that seem to be not particularly clear to you, and where you don't have to spend more time. Okay, so we're looking for your weaknesses so that we can address those. And again, that is part and parcel of the feedback process. So I'll click on, that's teaching dealt with. I hope I've convinced you that we're particularly good at what we do. And again, I encourage you to dive into the Unistats for whatever other physics departments across the UK that you might be considering as a target, as a potential target, and look at what Unistats and what their students had to say about those particular questions. Right, there's about 40 questions all told that when you go down through it. Some more meaningful than others, and I think I've selected out maybe the top 3 here: the quality of the staff at explaining, and the passion of the staff in making the subject interesting. Okay, so that's teaching dealt with. What about number 2 then? Excellence in research. So again, I rely on independently gathered statistics for just to give you some insight to the research at Dundee. And I can tell you this, the last exercise was a government-run process. It occurred in 2014. It was called the REF, the Research Excellence Framework. And from that REF, it transpired that Dundee's physics Physicists, rather, came 7th overall in the ranking table in the UK, but first in Scotland. Okay, so this data a little bit older, back to 2014. We've just had the most recent REF 2021, but the results will not be published until next year. So this time next year I have to upgrade this whole slide and tell you what's happened to us in the meantime. So this is the most recent data that we've got that grades us on our research performance. Now, let me tell you what these columns actually mean. FTE category A, staff submitted. You see that that's a low number for Dundee, right? So there's Dundee in 7th place, highlighted in red. And that first column has 18.75 in it. What does that mean? It means that we've got 18.75 academic staff who were returned in that exercise. And if you cast your eye up and down the column, you'll see that that's particularly low. All right, now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Let me tell you why we believe it's a good thing. We have low staff numbers, but we have an exceptionally high staff to student ratio. We only accept 52 students maximum into the course at Dundee. 52 because 52 happens to be the capacity of our laboratories. And all of the laboratories are done as individuals. There's no group working in set laboratory tasks per se. Okay, everything is done by you and you alone. Of course, there's helpers and there's your peer group around you. And I've got pictures of what the labs look like downstream. But I wanted to telegraph to you that Dundee's a smaller physics department than many of the others, and certainly the 3 others that I'm comparing with here, Edinburgh, Oxford and Manchester. 52 of an intake is small by comparison with the 200 or the 250 that you might get at Manchester. And that means that very quickly the staff get to know the students, right? There's a lot less faces to deal with. So it very quickly becomes a very family experience, okay? For the most part, our students are on first name terms with their professors. Most unusual. We try to dispense with reverie for staff and make it as welcoming as we possibly can. So there would be no question of you shrinking away in a lecture theatre and becoming this kind of grey man or grey woman scenario. No, we get to know all of you really rather well during the course of the first year. And again, that will suit some of you more than other against. I'm giving you it in black and white here so that you have the information that you need to call the shot properly. Suffice it to say, Dundee's a small physics department, but with a high staff to student ratio. And again, we have high quality teaching delivery, and the students, all averaged over the last 5 years of these NSS surveys, have loved the way we do things. Okay, so that's the first category. Low numbers of staff, but also low numbers of students coming in. So 4-star is the next category. Let me click on to that. 4-star means, well, the actual process, the REF process, involved each of the research active staff handing in or suggesting what were their best 4 or 5 outputs over the previous window of the exercise. Okay, maybe the 6 years preceding 2014, as I think it was, 5 years or 6 years, something like that. Anyway, we pick out the best papers that we've produced over that window, and then they are peer reviewed in this REF exercise. So it's not that we grade the papers ourselves, it's our peers, our independent peers, and like I say, this Research Excellence Framework exercise is undertaken under government scrutiny. So cast your eye down the list, 4-star list, and 4-star meaning quality that is world leading in terms of originality, significance and rigour. Well, transpires about 38% of our staff fall within that cutting edge, the upper limit on absolute research quality. And that kind of sits well within if you look at the universities on either side of us in this league table, you see the Russell Group universities and Oxbridge, Cambridge, all there. So we're in there kicking with the big boys. All right, so that's 4-star. 3-star then is not quite cutting edge, right? But it's still quality that is internationally excellent in terms of originality, significance, and rigor. And the lion's share of the rest of our staff fall within that. All right, so we've got a solid 93% of staff falling within this 4-star or 3-star category. So pretty much outstanding as researchers, as well as being fabulous teachers, everything that you want in a university physics department. I should have said at the outset that don't be scrabbling to write these figures down. If you want a copy of the slides, I can email that to you, and I'll have my email address on the very last slide. So don't be scrabbling at home to get all this information down. If you drop me an email afterwards, I can send you a copy of these slides. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced you that we're excellent at research and fabulous at teaching. Now I want you to get to know a little bit about the staff that we have in the division. So our 18.75 staff, it fluctuates from year to year, but this is the current rota of staff. And again, if you cast your eye down that, it'll become very crystal clear that there aren't too many Anglo-Saxon surnames certainly in there. There's a few. You've got me, Campbell, you've got a MacDonald, and a few other Scots and English about the place, but for the most part, we've got a hugely internationalised recruitment exercise that's gone on over the preceding 6 or 7 years, so that we've got this staff rota that we have right now. Now, one good thing about having it hugely cosmopolitan in that way is that you're not just getting the benefit of staff who've been UK educated. Okay, some of them have been to the States. The majority of them are from European mainland. So you get that extra little bit of pizzazz, right? And it's horses for courses. Different lecturers will appeal to different students, but you've got a wide selection of different staff members from different backgrounds, each with differing expertises. So let me move on to the subject of expertise. I've color-coded the research fortes for each individual member, and you can see anything to do with solid state or materials science kind of physics is highlighted in green. Anything to do with lasers or photonics, highlighted in blue. Photonics in red, biomedical applications in blue, I should have said. And then renewable energy downstairs there in brown. We've got two leading experts in that game as well. And plus computational physics in grey there. And 3 bona fide astrophysicists taking up the rear in purple. So why these particular areas? And the answer to that is particularly simple as far as I'm concerned. As the person responsible for the recruitment of students, that is you sitting at home now considering whether to come to Dundee or not, let me assure you that all of these areas of expertise are highly sought after in the employment sectors that take physicists right now, and it has to be underscored, especially in Scotland. For those who have a more parochial worldview of life, lasers and photonics in Scotland is absolutely chock-a with jobs for graduates. If you want to go further afield, your upbringing through our undergraduate curricula in solid state physics, and for those who have the with astrophysics, etc., well, you can see that there's plenty of jobs in those particular areas. More than that, the majority of the staff have actually worked out in industry themselves before. We haven't been locked up in these ivory towers, as it were, over the last 20 years or so, stagnating and not really knowing what goes on in the world. I gave you my own benefit of my background is that for quite a few years I worked in defence. Then I worked in a hospital as a medical physicist, stroke technologist, before coming to Dundee 20 years ago. And there's nothing unusual about that. The majority of the rest of the staff have had some interaction with industry, either working in industry or ongoing collaborations with industry as things stand. So that's an important aspect, okay? because it means that your degree is tuned in to what is out there, to what skills are in demand and in what particular areas of physics, and we cater to that explicitly. And the staff's expertise levels cater to that explicitly. So certainly the top 5 employers for physicists would be defence, medicine, photonics and electronics and computing, including the pharmaceutical game, and we've got all of that expertise in amongst the fortes of the staff here. All right, so I promised you that I would tell you about all 3 things. Employability was my 3rd criteria. And employability it transpires that there are plenty of jobs, not just in Scotland in photonics especially, but across the UK. In fact, there are 1 million physics-based employees within the UK, okay? So that transpires to be about 4% of the total workforce. In other words, physics is actually larger than the construction industry. That might come as a surprise to you. Maybe what's more of a surprise is that there's an additional 2.75 million supported employment posts that rely on these physics industries. So lots of jobs out there for physicists right now. And again, lots of our students are going into cracking jobs when they leave. So let me call up the wonderful National Student Survey and Unistats again, and I can give you, this is actually averaged, I haven't got them for the last 2 years, this is averaged over the 15 to 19 period. So that same exercise, Dundee against Edinburgh, against Manchester, against Oxford, and there's a strange uniformity here. In fact, when I open up all of the data available to us, you find that Dundee more or less mirrors Oxford, but there's not much in it down the line. If you go to any physics department in the UK, the chances are at around 83% plus or minus 2% that you will have a job within 6 months of graduating. I say job, a positive destination is what I should really say, okay? Because roughly 40% of our outgoing graduates will go directly into the workplace, but maybe another 40% or so will take a further degree, either a master's, an advanced master's, or a PhD. And the PhD aspect is becoming increasingly popular. I've got a cracking example of 2 of our most recent graduates coming up in a few slides' time. So the bottom line here, with regards to employability, it really doesn't matter which physics department you pick in the UK. We've all kind of got the same employability statistics around this 83% plus or minus a few percent. So you have every chance of getting a good job with a physics degree. Okay, what's it like here? Obviously, it's difficult to get a sense of a university from this online experience, which I find hateful. I hate it. I love it on real open days. Pre-COVID, you would have tea and coffee in the quad and meet all of the teaching staff and many of the students. So you just can't get that, you can't get that natural feel for things. But we're going to do our best by talking to one of the students, Liam Tate, the president of the Physics Society, after my little presentation here. But the philosophy of things at Dundee is this. I put this brochure together maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago explicitly for open days. And I thought, what is it that we do that's different from, well, we teach you to think for yourself. And many of the mums and dads, and maybe if there are watching at present, will be thinking, well, that's particularly brutal. We want little Johnny or girl to not have to think for themselves straight away. We don't want them thrown in the deep end. Well, we do, okay? When it's foisted upon you in that way, then it forces you to engage your brain quickly and not be left behind. And that is what the key criteria for employers are actually looking for. A sense of independence, the confidence to run with things by yourself, because in as much as most physics is done in teams, but your individual element, your work program, week on week, will be undertaken solo. and you need to have that level of reliability in the employer's eye, but also that independence that comes from having done things for yourself and having worked things out for yourself and not being spoon-fed all the way through university. So that's what I mean when I say think for yourself. We will teach you how, and we do. I'll let you know that all of the degrees are accredited by the UK's Institute of Physics, as that may not mean much to you at this stage of the game, but what essentially it means when you leave with your degree certificate is that you can apply for chartered physicist status once you're a year out from graduation. So we've got that. Your certification is in the bag if you graduate from the University of Dundee, because we're accredited by the Institute of Physics. We've got fabulous new labs. I'm going to show you some snapshots of that in a second or two. And then another really cool aspect in terms of mums and dads having to shell out big money is that you don't have to buy books in the first 2 years. Right? Your core syllabus over that first 2 years is taken care of by us. It's an e-text, but it's an e-text with all of those online bells and whistles and multimedia elements that you could wish for. And that is a real plus for the student pockets in that first years. After the core material, then we move on to more specialised stuff, and you do have to buy books for the 3rd, 4th and 5th year modules. But we try and get as much overlap as possible with that. Okay, so that's more or less us in a nutshell. We try to make you an independent, card-carrying physicist from day one, okay, and to have the confidence to do that. Okay, so here's the labs. It's not a snapshot of the labs per se. This is the architect's rendering of what it was supposed to look like and what it did end up looking like. And then the next slide that I've got is an actual picture of 4 students working at one of the workbenches in the lab. So you can again see 52 is our capacity. Each student undertakes their own laboratory practice. Okay, so each of those 4 students are doing 4 different experiments. There's an extra head hidden behind the central monitor there, and that's Aurora. She's one of our senior lecturers as well. So there are technical help widely available, but also academics in free circulation within the labs. Now, the lab experience is something that we pride ourselves on. Okay, we are an industry linked. We have our eye on teaching you the skills that you need to survive, and not only to survive in industry, but to get that crucial first job. One of the nice things about our labs is that we run the gold standard computer control software. So National Instruments LabVIEW is an extra a coding language, for want of a better word. It's undertaken with a graphical user interface, and it's a nice open source kind of code. So you will learn how to code with C++ or Python. You will be exposed to another coding language called MATLAB, which is phenomenally good for physics. But you've got this third option for control software, LabVIEW, and like I say, it's the industry standard. I get asked a raft of questions about, will I do quantum mechanics in year 1, or will I see Lagrangians and Hamiltonians and all of that good stuff? And when will I see it? Well, all of that wealth of information is embodied within the prospectus in as much as we can with the 2 pages available to us. This year's prospectus, the 22 entry prospectus, I'm presuming that most people watching are intending to apply to UCAS come January next year, and therefore enter the university in September 22. So if you can Google Dundee University undergraduate prospectus, and then when you've got that PDF, go to page 180, all of the information about what you will study in each particular year of study will be there. Plus, I give you this link. Okay, there's a lot more information available online as well. It does take a little bit of digging around to get to it, but there's the link downstairs. And again, if you email me afterwards, I can send you a copy of these slides. So hopefully That prospectus information will inform you about tariffs, A-level for those coming south of the border, and higher standards that we anticipate, or at least that your offer will be based on. It's all there in the prospectus. More or less, what areas of physics you'll be exposed to, level 1, level 2, level 3, etc., etc. But of course, I'll answer any particular questions that you've got in the Q&A downstream a little bit. All right, gonna crack on. So there's lots of opportunities because it's a small and friendly department, and the students get to know the staff very quickly. They also get to know the staff's areas of expertise, and that's more or less borne out by what we teach as well. So if you want to become an astronomer, you might find yourself asking Aurora or Scott or Soko, could you join their research group? One of the other aspects that our undergrads can do is to take part in this iGEM competition. And iGEM stands for International Genetic Engineering Machine Competition. This is the team from 5 years ago. Ed Smith-Uchotsky on the left, Hannah Boyd on the right were two of our senior students at the time, and they made it onto the iGEM team. So what is iGEM? More or less, it's a competition, an international competition open to every university in the world. And year upon year, they will set a challenge. Okay, and this particular year, it was a forensic science challenge. They'll then invite the university to develop a strategy to address that challenge and assemble a team with the right skill sets to go for it. So like I said, year upon year, we have at least one physicist, if not two, for this particularly exciting year. And it was exciting because not only did they win European gold and qualify for the final at MIT in Boston, but they picked up the Gold Team Award in Boston as well, which was cool, right? But also quite exhilarating because Hannah, on the right downstairs, was asked if she wouldn't mind being spokesperson rather, for the team when she got back. And this was in a live broadcast from the iGEM lab. So there's Hannah on the 6 o'clock ITV News, merrily telling people what it was that she'd done, or what the group had done, and all about the experience at MIT, about group working, and all the way through looking every bit the professional card-carrying physicist. Was she always that glowing and confident? And simple answer is no. We taught her how to be that way, okay? And again, this is something that is embedded into many of your modules at Dundee. And it's something that we pride ourselves on. I certainly do for my courses. It's kind of a root element. And that is to make up, as a group exercise, a little YouTube for one particular course or another. Or maybe it's just to have a presentation at the end of having done a little bit of research within a module. But suffice it to say that we mould our students into professional science presenters. This is Hannah before she went on TV, about a year before she went on TV. In my third year course, you have to do a presentation on one of the Maxwell equations, and Hannah chose Ampere's law. And you can see she's hunched up. She's nervous. She's reading from cards. She's got no professional esteem there whatsoever. So we beat that out of you students, okay? We get you to do so many presentations that it becomes second nature. You become not frightened to speak in public anymore. And more than that, you become rather good at it. And again, that is one of the key skills that employers demand from us. And like I say, it's kind of embedded within the majority of our courses. Okay, there's a few other things that we do that separate us from other physics departments. In every physics department in the UK, you will do an honours project, and the honours project invariably relates to some research topic. We don't wait to the third year or the fourth year of your honours degree or your honours year. Rather, we invite our first years from the second semester onwards, if they want to try learning physics by doing research, then by all means come and have a go. And those who stick at it invariably get first class degrees. And here's two such examples on the left. We've got Nasser on the right hand side, and Nasser actually did a research project as a third year, wrote it up with me and had it as published as a paper, as a first author paper in a well-respected journal. So that's just one little element of how we encourage students to develop the CV for themselves, okay? To make the most of the opportunities that are here. And there's lots of avenues by which you can go about that. Invariably, we encourage the students who stick with the undergrad research group to think of things that they would like to try off their own bat. Okay, so Nasser had an idea. Nasser wrote up the idea, put it to the Royal Society of Edinburgh as a grant, as did Daniel Karen on the left, and it was funded. And then they had the responsibility to undertake the management of their own funded idea with the help of the staff and the infrastructure at Dundee. So again, it's a way to encourage you to grow as a physicist and learn those extra skills that employers seek, like leadership skills and an ability to manage a budget that you're responsible for. Critical aspects that you wouldn't really have the opportunity to go for in most other physics departments. Again, we can do it because we're small and agile enough to carry that way. Here's another example. I said I would refer back to two of our more recent graduates. So both these ladies just graduated, both with firsts. The summer just gone past, right, 2 months ago. You've got Federica on the right in the red jacket, Alexia on the left. They did a project with me in the summer of their first year. It was funded by Deborah. Deborah is a charity that fund research into skin diseases. And their little project was so successful that they were invited to London to speak to a patient group about the ideas that they had developed working with me over the summer. Okay, so 1 year of physics under their belts, and already they're speaking at a national conference to real beneficiaries of research, the patient group who were going to benefit from this particular area of expertise. Federica then went on in her second year to go ahead and write another little proposal of her own doing, funded by the Royal Society of Edinburgh. She worked as an astronomer in her second year. Okay, so biophysics in the first summer, then on to astronomy in her second summer. And again, if the opportunities are there for those to grasp, those who choose to do so. Both the girls are off to do PhDs. Federica is at the University of Hawaii on the telescopes doing observational astronomy. Alexia has gone to Syracuse University in New York for her PhD. Okay, so again, it's just underscoring that there's lots of opportunities to enhance your CV here. Oh, mums and dads are usually interested in guidance. Guidance at Dundee at this level is called pastoral care, and it's particularly well catered for by Dr. Steve Reynolds, who was the Chief Advisor of Studies. Suffice it to say that there's nothing that a student can see or do or a position they find themselves in that he hasn't seen before and therefore isn't able to help with. So pastoral care well catered for at Dundee. I want to race through the last few wee slides. So I won't steal Liam's thunder. He's going to talk about what the Physics Society does and why they do the things that they do in a few moments' time. But suffice it for me to say that I try to get along to as many of the Physics Society's events as is humanly possible. Try not to miss the Keeley Ball for sure. There's me on the right from a few years ago. And the quiz, well, there's actually several pub quizzes throughout the year. And that's my forte. I haven't been on Countdown before. 15 to 1 and Countdown. Right, anyway, another thing you should be aware about before Liam talks about the ins and outs of the Physics Society is our student union is phenomenally good. Best in Scotland, 10 years out of the last 11, okay? And beats the competition hands down. So again, you dive into the Unistats and find all that information for yourselves just to compare your other target universities. Okay, a few last little bits and bobs, okay? There are field trips. So there's just not enough room in the prospectus and even online to tell you about everything that we do. So I grab the opportunity now to tell you that in my fourth year nuclear class, you would get a trip to the Torness Nuclear Power Station just outside of Edinburgh. It's a fabulous experience because most of these students are graduating that particular year, the 4th year, and will be going out in the industry. So you're seeing what a real cutting-edge physics environment is really like. You get a chance to talk to the engineers, the managers or physicists as well down there at Torness, and it's just an awareness exercise par excellence. I got a 3rd year course on electrodynamics. That's the Maxwell equation one that Hannah was doing her presentation with. We go to the James Clerk Maxwell Museum in Edinburgh each year and get photographed with James down in the square, and then go to his birthplace in India Street, which is now the James Clerk Maxwell Museum, and see all of his papers and just the whole shebang of his life, right? The whole biographical Maxwell experience. And then before we hop on the train back up, we go for a pint in the Café Royal next to Waverley Station. All right, so again, lots of extra little bits and bobs that you just wouldn't be aware of from the prospectus alone. So in finishing, right, and giving Liam some time to talk about the Physics Society, I'll tell you this, the only things that we're looking for right now is that you are curious, passionately curious, preferably about physics. You want to know how things work. You want to know how nature is, right? If you have that, then you've got all the ammunition at this stage that you need. The second criteria comes from having been exposed to us here at Dundee. That's to develop your imagination. Okay, so these are Einstein's 2 criteria for successful physics: passionate curiosity to keep you involved in the game, and a strong imagination to push forward, push beyond the bounds of what has been done before. You bring the passionate curiosity, we light a fire under the strong imagination and tease that out over your 4 or your 5 years here. Okay, so I said my email would be available at the end. There it is, p.a.campbell@dundee.ac.uk. If you want a copy of the slides, just drop me an email and I will furnish you with that ASAP. If there's any other questions, put them to the Q&A now and we can deal with that after Liam's talk. But for now, I will pass you back to our organisers for the day, and Liam will come on in a second, if that's all right. If you want to pop things into the Q&A, by all means, go for it. Okay, so I'm back at you, Esty, if you can take control again at this point. Esty, are you with us?
Absolutely. I'm just waiting for Liam to share content. So we'll be here in a second.
Hi, sorry, I'm just trying to share my stuff now.
And I will bug out.
Yeah.
No worries.
PowerPoint, that's okay.
Please put it in the Q&A section of the live event, and we'll come back to you as soon as we can.
Am I sharing my screen? Can you see this?
Yes, can you please turn on your camera?
Yeah, 1 sec.
And if you go on full screen, that would help too.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. Is that better? Hello?
I think you can go when you're ready, Liam.
Okay, sorry, someone muted me there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Your audio was good.
Right, cool. So hi, I'm Liam. I'm the president of the Physics Society here at Dundee. Sorry, just getting some going up. So just quickly, our aims are to bring socialising to science so that we can provide our students, or just our members really, with a varied calendar of events throughout the year. We try to have at least 1 or 2 events per month every semester. Obviously that's not been quite possible in the last year, but you know, hopefully we'll get back to that soon. And we want to try and help expand the knowledge of physics outside the classroom. as well as just having a bit of fun. So this is the committee. Don't look at me. That was 4 years ago. So I'm the president. This is my second year. Hannah is our vice president. I don't have photos for everyone yet because I've not gotten. They've not agreed to it yet. But Ennis is our secretary. Akshith is our treasurer. Nikki and Rebecca are our coordinators for the events. Sanya is our PR, and our head tutor is Aaron, which is good because we have a tutor this year. We didn't have one last year, which moves us on to events. So we have study group, and we're one of the only societies in Dundee to provide a consistent study group session every week throughout semester. Students can bring their homework, project work, and also ask for any help or advice from our head tutor, as well as anyone else from the society that turns up. I'll probably be there most weeks as well. As I said, we've actually got a head tutor this year, so we can commit to weekly study support group. And the only thing we say is you don't just bring your work along for us to do it for you. That we won't do that. We always help. And in the past, what usually helps is you can send your work in advance along to the head tutor if you say, oh look, I'm really struggling with this, and he can have a look at it well in advance and have an answer for you, or know what to help you with, have some materials ready for you, which I think is always a big help, especially in something like physics, because sometimes no one in your course will know what to do and none of your friends will know, but someone in the years above may be able to help. So with the Physics Society, we have an annual trip abroad. So you can see we've been at lots of places. We've been to Geneva twice in the last 6 or 7 years, obviously visiting CERN, seeing the Large Hadron Collider and Antimatter Factory, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Warsaw, Munich, and then most recently we were in Krakow in 2020, just before the coronavirus pandemic forced us all into lockdown. We managed to just get away in February, and that was really good. So we saw a nano tech institute there. That was really cool. We went to one of the universities in Krakow and they showed us some of their research. It was really nice to see. As well as, on these trips we went to Auschwitz, we went to the salt mines, and you can see in the bottom right, that's Wawel Castle, which is really, really nice. So it's not, these trips aren't specifically just you have to go and you have to do physics things. That's always something that we do on the trips, which helps because we get funding from DUSA for it, which makes the trip cost very, very, very cheap, which is something that is great for a student because you can't always guarantee that you're going to get a holiday whilst you're at uni. But yeah, I mean, usually we have 1 or 2 days on a 4 or 5 day trip that we go and we do something physics related, and the rest of it is just whatever you want to do. You can go out with your friends, you can visit all these attractions like I've said. There's always we always pick somewhere that has plenty to do, and nightlife, and obviously a physics attraction as well. Throughout the year, as I said, we always do smaller events as well, so we try to have as I said, at least 1 or 2 per month. Each semester we have 1 or 2, sometimes more pub quizzes. It just depends how busy they are. As you can see, that one is quite busy there. That was a good few years ago now. But we've also done things like laser tag. You can see over there on the left is our theme nights out. That's our welcome night. We're not allowed to call it initiations anymore. So the top one, they used to do a Harry Potter themed one. We call it Newton's 4 floors, and in the past some of us have lived in like big townhouses with several floors, so we go around houses in big groups and we do challenges and we just have fun, and you don't have to drink if you don't want to, but it's always fun, and lots of students will never turn down a drink. Obviously, we haven't been able to do that in a couple of years now because there's no such thing as meeting in such big groups, but maybe hopefully we can return to similar, if not the same as what we've done in the past. We also went to Rise, the trampoline park in Dundee, which is good fun, and annually we do always have a camping trip. Again, that's something we haven't done for a couple of years, but it's just it's quite nearby. Usually there's a decent wee group that goes away. But I mean, Dundee's a place that's got quite a lot of things to do, so we're always open to suggestions. If even our events coordinators don't come up with something, you can always ask them, can we do this to the society? We can ask if people are interested. And the big thing at the end of the year is our annual ball. That's always a lot of fun. You can see we always get a really good turnout. As a society, we usually have around 100 members, give or take, per year, which is quite large, given that, you know, as Paul said earlier, the intake is around 50 students per year, or that could be, but my year, for example, only had like 25 or something. So given that there's 100 in society, you can see that almost all the students are wanting to be involved in the society. And we have people that don't even do physics in society. It's not just for people who do physics. You can just be interested, or you can just like the people. We have a lot of people that just have absolutely nothing to do with physics, don't even know anyone in society, and they just come along and make friends and enjoy what we do. And it's always great fun. We always go a nice place. We always get a nice meal. We always dress up nice, and you can never say no to an excuse to dress up nice. We always are nominated or win society awards, usually for our trips abroad, because they're always just so good. That's usually the events. As you can see, like from the inception of the society back in 2013, there's always been something going on every single year is accounted for. We've obviously not got from the past year because there wasn't really much going on. But even the year before, we were nominated for Best Society 1920. You know, kind of just speaks for itself what you can see. Thank you for listening. As Paul said, any questions, like I'm happy to answer. If you want to hear like a student's perspective, that's fine with me. And that's me done.